Have you ever encountered a tale so extraordinary it seems plucked from the silver screen? Brace yourself, as this one is a real-life, heart-pounding journey of love, deceit, and an unexpected plot twist that will leave you spellbound. This is the narrative of Sarah and Mark, a duo who seemed to possess everything desirable until a strikingly attractive stranger entered their lives, causing turmoil, or so it appeared. For 10 years, Sarah and Mark had been married, presenting an idyllic image to the outside world. They were the epitome of a perfect couple. However, unbeknownst to all, a series of events was about to unfold that would shake their relationship to its core. Living in a beautiful home, leading prosperous careers, and often appearing content in photos, their lives appeared harmonious. However, behind locked doors, their relationship was vastly different. The initial flame had waned, their dialogues were monotonous, and their days predictable. Sarah felt an increasing emptiness and yearned for the excitement and fervor that once characterized her marriage. She felt overlooked, ignored, and taken for granted. Mark, conversely, harbored a deep affection for his wife, expressing it predominantly through actions rather than words. He worked tirelessly to provide Sarah with the best, inadvertently creating a rift between them. Noticing her growing detachment and the sadness in her eyes, he felt powerless as she seemed to drift further away. One night at a charity event, Sarah met Julian, unlike Mark in every way, charming, attentive, and genuinely interested in her. For the first time in years, Sarah felt a surge of exhilaration, a renewed spark of life. Sarah had assumed Julian, the art dealer, was out of her life forever. Yet, he embodied an exhilarating lifestyle of travel and adventure, making him a refreshing change in her monotonous existence. They gradually transitioned from coffee meetings to dinners. Julian lavished attention on Sarah, sending flowers, writing poems for her, and taking her to dream destinations, thus sketching a picture of a future brimming with passion and impulsiveness. Captivated by this seeming genuine affection, Sarah convinced herself that she had found the true love she deserved. The remorse she harbored towards Mark paled in comparison to the tantalizing allure of a fresh start with Julian. Following weeks of this romantic whirlwind, Sarah took a step. One evening, her heart racing, she shared her decision with Mark. She was departing him, having encountered someone who stirred her soul. Mark was heartbroken, remaining silent instead of protesting. She remained silent, instead showing a pale face and eyes brimming with deep, unbearable pain. All he said was, "Are you certain this is what you desire?" To which she, lost in her fantasy, responded affirmatively. Sarah then moved into an opulent apartment arranged by Julian, and the initial days were like living a dream. They were free together, and their future seemed radiant. She shared the news with friends and family, some expressing shock while others offering support, but Sarah paid no heed. She was finally content. Mark, however, was barely recognizable as his former self. He avoided social gatherings, hardly ate, and merely went through life's motions. His friends grew concerned but were pushed away by Mark. Julian, once a man engulfed in joy, had been swallowed by sorrow for over a month. The perfect life he shared with Sarah and Julian began to show signs of wear and tear. He grew distant, calls decreased, romantic dinners turned into takeout eaten in silence. His preoccupation with work, constant travels, and avoidance of social events made him an absentee partner. Sarah found herself yearning for the attentive man she had fallen for, only to see him gradually replaced by a cold, preoccupied stranger. The luxurious apartment they shared started feeling like a gilded prison. One evening, Sarah reached her breaking point and confronted Julian. She demanded an explanation for his behavior, but instead of opening up, he was evasive and dismissive. In the heat of their argument, Julian's phone rang. He ignored it, yet Sarah saw the caller ID displayed as a familiar name, Mark's best friend. This revelation left Sarah confused and suspicious. She snatched the phone from his hand, answering the call before Julian could intervene. On the other end was Mark's friend. "Hey man," he said, "is it done? Did you get everything you need?" At those words, Sarah felt her blood run cold. Unable to suppress her curiosity, she asked, "What's done?" Sarah quivered as she asked, met with prolonged silence followed by a deep sigh. It was then that Julian, or so he called himself, broke character. He sat down and spoke calmly, revealing the truth. He wasn't an art dealer, he was a private investigator working for someone else. This revelation left Sarah feeling as if the ground beneath her had vanished. It didn't add up. Mark had hired him. But Julian explained that Mark had been aware of Sarah's dissatisfaction for months. Mark attempted all possible ideas to reunite with Sarah, yet none succeeded. He watched her slipping away and feared losing her. Known for her desire for excitement, he thought of a grand, film-like scheme. He hired a private investigator not to catch infidelity, but to provide what she yearned for. He instructed Julian to be her dream man, offering her the romance she lacked, and then leaving. The entire scenario was arranged, featuring a charming demeanor, extravagant dates, and an elegant apartment, all funded by Mark. To sell his vintage car and part of his stock portfolio to finance it all. The aim was for Julian to break Sarah's heart, hoping that after the fallout she might recognize what she had lost. Mark's ultimate objective was vengeance. He wanted to grant her the fantasy she desired, even if it meant damaging himself in the process. As Julian spoke, Sarah's world crumbled and reformed in a frightening new light. Every romantic memory with Julian was now a manufactured lie, but the most alarming revelation was the extent of Mark's love. The man she considered dull and predictable had orchestrated the wildest and most unpredictable romantic gesture imaginable. He was prepared to forfeit her, enduring indescribable agony merely to present her with a fleeting glimpse of joy. He believed she deserved it, even if it wasn't with him. Speechless, Sarah departed the apartment and drove for 4 hours, her mind dwelling on the past 10 years of her life. She contemplated Mark not as a silent spouse, but as a man who adored her immensely. He orchestrated his own heartache. She recollected all the minor acts, how he would brew coffee every morning for her, how he would fix things around the house without being asked, and how he would comfort her on difficult days. These weren't grand gestures, but they were genuine, forming the foundation of a shared life, a life she had discarded in pursuit of a mirage. Finally, she reached their old house. The lights were on, and with shaking hands, she approached the door using her old key. It still functioned. In the living room, she encountered Mark, his gaze fixed on the fireplace. He seemed older, thinner, and remarkably sad. On noticing her, he raised his eyes in surprise. Words were unnecessary as she approached him, her tears cascading down. She hugged him tightly, saying only "I'm sorry," repeated over and over. Mark merely held her, stroking her hair. Their path to recovery wasn't simple. Trust needed rebuilding, wounds had to heal. Yet they started communicating sincerely for the first time in years. Sarah found love in Mark's silent resilience, while Mark learned to express the hidden passion. They realized that enduring love isn't just about passionate romances shown in films. It's about creating a bond day by day through forgiveness, understanding, and an unyielding love. This story demonstrates that sometimes the most impactful love is not loud but powerful in its silence. What do you think Mark's intentions were, reckless or romantic? Share your opinions in the comments section beneath. Appreciate your viewing. Additionally, remember to like and subscribe for future content if you found this tale enjoyable.